Well, hello and welcome to the Alpha Anywhere Beginners Orientation. This is part 2 called The Resources. I'm Dave McCormick from Alpha Software. I'm pleased to be joined by Dean McCormick, no relation, who is our lead solutions engineer. And today he will be taking you through the resources, where to find help, and answer some of the questions that you have on Alpha Anywhere. Two things that you should know. First of all, this session will be recorded, and recording will be available at videos.alphasoftware.com. The other thing is that we encourage you to ask questions. This session really is for you, so please type your questions into the GoToWebinar control panel into the questions section. So let's get started. Dean, I'm going to take you off mute. There you go. Dean, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. I'm going to go ahead and make you the presenter. You should see a dialog box on your screen.
There it goes.
Terrific.
All right. Thank you very much. Hey, everybody, I really appreciate you taking time out to visit with us for the session 2 of the Alpha Anywhere Beginners Orientation. The real goal of these 2 sessions is just to get you familiar with what Alpha can build, how we approach building web, mobile, and desktop solutions, and kind of give you some pointers in terms of where you can gain access. So what I'd like to do today is I'm going to run through a quick review of last week for anybody that missed it. By the way, it has been recorded and is now on the Alpha Anywhere website under the video library, so you'll be able to see that part in case something moves. We will be posting this also after we complete this today, so you'll be able to catch up in terms of what if something went too quick or you had to pop out, we'll have that recorded and available for you. As Dave mentioned, my name is Dean McCormick. I'm the Senior Solutions Engineer for Alpha. I help people who are coming on board with Alpha understand the technology, the platform. I also help out people who are architecting their solutions and their kind of go-to-market strategies with the technology. So this session was broken into 2 parts. Session 1 was last week, and what we really did was show some example desktop and mobile applications. And then we talked a bit about the architecture, meaning that the way Alpha approaches the world in terms of what the most important factor is, that it's one development system, one platform that uses a low-code methodology, which means you write very little code to generate your solutions. But the neat thing is that you're able to actually create and deploy solutions on all platforms, desktop, web browser, even the desktop. You can make EXEs for Windows. But more importantly now on the mobile environment, you can create solutions for tablets and phones. And what's really exciting is that Alpha is about to introduce our next version of the software, and there's some dramatic improvements in terms of the ability to style your application to make it look the way you want to, and more importantly also is a easier way to put together form or mobile optimized forms, i.e. the ability to put together forms that are tailored for a mobile device. A lot of the existing solutions out there basically take your desktop web and then just reformat and squeeze it onto a little screen, which presents a lot of difficulties in terms of the ability to actually fill out that form. Whereas Alpha's taking a different tact, is we're giving a full set of tools where you can take, say, for a form and break it into multiple pieces and make it easy and presentable for the user to fill out. But the important thing is all these techniques go across desktop, web, mobile, tablets, etc., and work very, very well. That way you don't have to create or have to go out and have 2 different environments or development environments for you to achieve what you're looking for. So we kind of walked through that. We walked through what you could build. We talked a little bit about the architecture, the options of you can either deploy through the web browser on mobile devices, or as I talked about last week, you can use the PhoneGap build process to take your application, wrap it into a PhoneGap essentially module, and then install it on the machine so it acts and performs like a native solution, and also has availability through the PhoneGap APIs to all the native functionality such as geolocation and other aspects like that. You can sensors on the mobile platform, whatever is available, you'll be able to tap into it. So we went through those pieces, did some demonstrations, showed some dog and pony shows, and went through there. So today's agenda is what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about, now you kind of know what you can build and where we come from. Now the question is, how can you get up to speed quickly? And so our agenda for today is to talk a little bit about what has shipped with the alpha development environment. And I'm going to touch on a number of key areas that help accelerate your ability to create prototypes and solutions using the technology. I'm also going to spend time talking about the help resources that are available to you. There's many different avenues for you to gain support to help you build out what you need to do, and I'll walk through those so you'll have a feel for those. And also what services are available from Alpha and also third parties to help you ramp up your skill set, help you get up to speed, solve problems, and deploy what you need to do. And also, if you have a larger opportunity than you're able to handle, a way to work with Alpha and the professional services to deploy that solution while maintaining control of the environment. So I'm going to pop over into the development environment in a few moments, but I'd like to do a quick check with Dave, make sure the sound and video and all is coming through okay.
Yep, it's all coming through.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, Alpha, I call it Tabula Rasa, a clean slate. We like to provide our developers with the ability to kind of start from a good starting point, meaning that instead of just looking at a blank sheet of paper, we have templates and sample apps and other pieces that are available that allow you to build something very quickly because you can use the template or the sample app, and then you can kind of dig into it and figure out how that was put together. And I find that's very effective because you can immediately get some results, start playing with it. It's been well thought out, and there's a lot of documentation around these solutions. So it's a great training vehicle in terms of you getting up to speed there. And there's a set of them that are located right in the development environment itself. And I'll also be showing in a few moments how we also have a set of pre-made content that is available for you when the development environment is installed on your development machine. And so I'll go through both of those pieces there. So let's start with the development environment. I'm going to go ahead and pop over to my development environment. I opened Alpha Anywhere, and you'll notice that this is the first screen that you're going to see. Actually, you may see this news and updates right here with information on there. But also we have workspace and tasks. So this is your starting point. As you can see, I have a number of existing projects that I have available. I could open those up right from this location. I could also click more workspaces and navigate it to on a hard drive. You can actually edit this list if you want to kind of clean up ones that you don't use anymore, etc. That's for existing solutions that you've built. As far as creating new ones, there's a couple different options. First is you can create a new empty workspace. So this would be an idea of basically just it's a clean sheet of paper. It's going to create a nice little workspace for you on the drive. And once it's there, then you're able to then start editing and adding content to it. But often that can be like, hey, where do I start? I've got this blank thing. Do I start building grids? Do I do UXs? What do I do there? And so often it can be a little confusing if you're trying to do a blank sheet of paper. So what Alpha allows you to do is built into the solution and into the development environment are some sample and tutorial workspaces. So I'm going to click on here, and you're going to see that it gives you a set of selections that are available. There's an application server demo, which teaches you more of how to interact with the application server. We have a demo mobile application, which is a very powerful one because it's all ready to go and you can basically dissect it. And I'll show you how to create one of those in a few moments here. We also have one that talks about the email features that are available within Alpha, the Action JavaScript and other pieces there. We also have a Learning XBasic, which is really focused more on the XBasic language, which is our back office or sort of our server-side language there. We also have one that I really like is the Simple Web Contact Manager, which is fully web-based. It uses grids, etc. And really is a full-featured little app that you can start and use as a basis and kind of see how they put together. And then also Alpha Sports, which is a more interesting, what's interesting about Alpha Sports is think of it as an e-commerce example in terms of the ability to put up a e-commerce kind of store where you have products shown and then checkout and other pieces there. So that one also is a very extensive one that's available within the tool. And all you need to do is select the one you would like. So let me go ahead and select Demo Mobile Application. specify the folder where you want to place that. So it's going to create a whole new project for you, a workspace. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead, let's see, nope, we want to go up, up, up. Oh, we're at C here. So you need to, this is a little hard to see here, but basically you go into your documents, and I have this directory called alpha, and I can create a new folder here, and I'll go webinar test. There we go. So we now have this webinar test folder. That's an empty folder. And now if I click OK, when I create this demo app, this is where it's going to put it. So I can define where I want to put it on the hard drive. And so now that I've specified that, I click OK. It's going to actually take that information. First, it's taking a whole bunch of data that it already has and copying it into that folder. And then also it's gotten some help there. And you'll notice this, you see on there that we have a demonstration mobile application. It uses a sample Northwind, so it's going to use a access MDB file just to get you started where I have a set of data and other pieces like that. And you'll notice that there's a full set of instructions here. It's talking about the web projects control, and then talking about the main UX customer component. So that is your way to really quickly start ramping up, because it includes sort of self-documented information there. And you'll also notice here is that if I click on that, it's going to show you a getting started video. And this one's very, very powerful. This is open a step-by-step tutorial on building the application. So what's neat about this is that you have basically a template with a finished application. You can go ahead and put that on your system, and then you can go through a step-by-step tutorial that will actually show you how that system was built. So it's a really handy, very nice way to kind of get off the ground, especially if you're kind of new to the web mobile area and the ability to do that. So now I can click close, and you notice that it's copied all the files over here. So you'll notice that there are a set of UX components, one index page, because it's essentially a one-page application. There's no HTML, but and I think there's a few images that they add in there and those pieces there. So this is a really quick way for you to get off the ground, because then you can immediately start running this project, see how it works, and also, more importantly, see how it's pulled together. So like, for instance, we've got an orders UX here. So when I open that up into the screen, you'll notice that we see already pre-structured with panel navigators, panels, a list control that goes to the orders, another list control that goes to the items for orders, and it uses a parent-child relationship, so it shows how to use that. And also what's kind of nice down here is it's got a built-in chart that's already built into it, so you can kind of see how that's pulled together. So instead of having to kind of create this from scratch, you can implement any of these sample applications, and you'll be good to go and ready to rock and roll. And then you can go in and say, okay, how did they put together this orders list? So you can click on the orders list and go into the list properties, and you can see, okay, it's getting it from connection string Northwind. Here's the SQL statement. Here are the fields that are coming back. Here's the list properties, how those were set up in terms of all the different capabilities. And this is the list layout and how they did it there. So you can essentially use a forensics technique to kind of see, oh, how did that build that? And then you can copy and paste into your own applications as you so see fit. So these sample apps or tutorial apps are very powerful. So let me go back out here. Let me go ahead and show, let's go back to, let's see, news and updates. No, that's not it. So let me go ahead and exit out of this. And I'm going to go back in. I'm not going to save anything. So I'm going to go back in. Let's go through the same process we were going to do. Is let's say we want to, let's see, if we reopen it, does that give me the question? Yeah. Now notice something. When I saved that templated application, when I reopened it, it actually brought this up. So you don't have to worry about, oh, where's the tutorial, etc. Anytime you open this particular application or this particular project up, you're going to be shown this dialog until you specifically say, do not show this window again. So therefore, now I can click and go, okay, great, I created my thing, my project, I've saved it on my hard drive. Now I can open this up and click on here, and you'll notice that it's taking me to a web page. It's going to take a moment here. And this is the tutorial. So it tells you a little bit of background. It tells you what this tutorial will be doing, what kind of things. And so here's lesson 1, creating a list to show all customers. So it talks about exactly what those are. And you'll notice very powerful is a full set of videos that are associated with this aspect. So you don't necessarily just have to read, you can actually click on these videos and it will show you the video on each of this. So for instance, this first lesson actually consists of 6 total lessons or videos. Lesson number 2 has 2 of them. And as you can see, it goes through all the core concepts. So for instance, adding a list, adding form controls to view and edit the data, binding the UX to a table. So how is it going to work with a table? Then I can talk about navigating records, how the navigation function works. Then we also talk about how the databases are saved or changes are saved to the database. You can see a whole set of different videos are available there. Also an example of how to search through that customer table, and then searching a customer table, adding advanced search features. And then talking a little bit about how to mobilize the application, meaning that once you've kind of got the core pieces, you want to start putting those into a mobile format, and shows you how to do that. That's an extensive level of pieces there. Then it also shows you how to create drop-down menus on your mobile app. So this in and of itself is a powerful training tool here. You can create a slide-in panel menu, which is one you normally see with like a button up in the left. So it literally walks through this step-by-step to show you how you include and create that panel on there. And then event handlers. So as you can see, it's an extensive level of information. Like for instance here, it's talking about accessing the camera to take and upload pictures, and then adding maps to it, entering new customer and defining that. Very intriguing and very powerful. And as you can see, there's probably about 16 lessons with probably about 30 or 40 videos that are available. And again, the way I got to that is when I reopened my application, I clicked on that. So in terms of getting started, this is a great way to do it because A, you're going to have the finished product, so you're going to see how this application works. You can run it right away, so it's already in there. But also very, very powerful is that they've got the step-by-step tutorials. They'll allow you to walk through and understand exactly every step you're doing to put that together. And so you get the end result, but also you get the step-by-step, the journey to do that. So this is a great one. And as you can see, if we go back up here, and let's go new workspace. Okay, let's file close. Okay, and we'll just go, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here and go back in. This is the easiest way to do this. As you can see with the sample and tutorial, that one was just I believe that was the demo mobile application. But you can learn more about the app server, Learning X Basic, Web Contact Manager, other pieces like that. I tend to like to start with the demo mobile one because it just really covers a lot of ground and is very, very powerful in terms of showing exactly what you need to do in this situation. Now, these are all the built-in sample and tutorial workspaces. So these are already built into the solution. They have the tutorials, the other pieces there. A great way to start, especially when you're getting started using the tool, a launch point there. Now, what I'd like to also show you is that if we go ahead and open the file browser for the system, we go to the C drive, I'm going to go to the program files area, and there's a folder in the program files called A5B12. And what that is that's where when you did the installation of the software, that's where it placed all of the information for the executable. So let's go ahead and walk in there. Now you'll see there's a lot of content in here, not only a bunch of files, DLLs, and things like that, but there's a large number of folders. And so what I'd like to come through here is talk a little bit about one of the cool folders here, is that if we come in here, first you'll see one folder called MDB files. And in here, it has the sample access databases. So the tutorials tend to use Access because then you don't have to worry about setting up another software like MySQL and all that other rigmarole and find out where it is and get it going. It's easy to set up and use these Access databases. So that's the basis we use for the tutorials. Obviously, once you have it up and running, you're welcome to repoint it to a SQL Server version or a MySQL, whatever works from that standpoint. So the idea is that, and let's see down here, so you'll notice that we have Alpha Sports and Northwind. Again, Northwind is the standard one. that Microsoft developed for everybody for training purposes. Alpha Sports is the database that's used by the Alpha Sports template, and that has a little bit more e-commerce focus there. If I go into sample applications, we have Contact Manager, and in here we have some more databases to handle that Contact Manager. So these are just databases that are included in there, and you're welcome to use those not only for the tutorials, but if you just need some good sample data and you want to start playing, you don't have to create it all. You can copy one of these, and then when you set up your application, point to that database and you'll be good to go. So that's kind of included in here. And again, where I found that is I navigated to the A5v12 folder, and then inside the A5v12 folder, there's something called MDB files, and that allows you to open it from there. Now there's some others here. If you'll notice, there's samples here. And so we have a whole bunch of samples that are built into Alpha here. So some of these you've seen, Alpha, Demo App, but also there's some other ones that are available on different topics. So for instance, the web contact list, that this is what's being copied into the other. Olay automation, in case you ever want to use Olay automation, not used as much these days, but that's where you can find those folders, and that's what's being copied into those. So that's where we have our samples that are included in the system that you're able to access from there. So also built into it is some other neat things I like to kind of show is that, let's see, in JavaScript, we have a whole bunch of JavaScript files, information about JavaScript. The other one that I find is really interesting is learning action scripting. Here's another project that you can open up, and there's a README in here to talk about how to use action scripting. We can also look into the Learning X Basic, and you'll notice that this is another full project that's available for you to learn X Basic. So this has all been included over time, so you're able to find more and more. So this is all under that A5v12. So don't be scared to go in and check it out. Obviously, the most important thing you need to do is usually copy what you need out of this folder to another location so that you kind of preserve the original content in case you ever need it from that standpoint. So those are some helpful items there. So you have two methods of going after that. One is you're going to have built into it these pre-made tutorial applications that are available for you to create. They come with tutorial videos and other pieces there. And also, if we go look on the hard drive under the installation folder for Alpha, you're also going to see that there's a whole bunch of example code and other pieces that are available for you, again, that are included with the system that you can use for your purposes there. So that's kind of where I find the locations. Now, what is being worked on right now and is in part of the process is, as you know, we're building a new documentation site, and I'm going to spend a few more minutes talking about that a little bit. But as part of that, one of the things that the team is doing is that Alpha has set up a Git account, which is a type of version control. And what you're going to be able to do is actually use a Git client to download examples from the Git client, and so that you're able to, and therefore what Alpha will be doing, instead of putting them on folders, on drives, or anything else, these are going to be public repositories. So it means that basically anybody can access and download the information in this repository. So as the team continues to develop more examples, we have a bunch that are going to come along with a new version because there's so many new features there. More and more the examples are going to be less on your hard drive and more put into the Git, what's called the Git repository. And again, it's up and running now. Dave, you may want to just go ahead and send in the message box an address for one of them or something along those lines if you're willing or prepared to do so. And actually, if you want to talk a little bit more of how your team plans, this is the marketing group, how they plan on utilizing the Git repositories, if you don't mind. Put you on the spot.
No, not at all. Let me see if I can find it real quick. That would be a help.
Sorry, buddy, caught him off guard.
That's all right. In the meantime,
we can come back to that in a few moments if you like.
Yeah, that would actually be great.
Okay, I'm going to put Dave to work on to find there, and he'll find that and do it there. So actually, why don't I go ahead and adjust this Git repository? And you know, this Git repository is kind of an industry standard methodology now. If you look at most technologies, the libraries and other things are available through Git repositories because they're essentially version control. So the neat thing about that is that once you're set up, you can keep monitoring those repositories and see if there's any changes and download the most recent changes. It's also a very powerful way for the team, and let's see, okay, make sure I didn't lose you there. There's a real power, can you hear me okay?
I can still hear you. And in fact, I did find the
good.
Git repository, so if you'd like to switch back over to that, I can.
Okay, yeah. Let me just show, I'm going to have Dave show that because I want to kind of prep people for what's going to be coming a little bit more down the road as we continue to flesh out the new updated methodologies for marketing and supporting our people in the field. So I've just made you presenter.
And can you see my screen?
Yes, coming through.
All right, great. So basically, this is our Alpha GitHub account. I pasted a link. I'm going to actually picture this one. The box. And if you go into the chat window, you'll also be able to find this. So it's github.com/alpha anywhere. And once you get there, it shows you a list of, at first, popular repositories. Think about a repository as like a folder. It contains a series of files that are related to a particular project. This is sort of misleading because you look at it and say, oh, there are only 5 here, but there are more. You need to click on the repositories button. And it shows examples. For example, Chris Martin did an example of how to pull data on a web service using .NET. So his data from web service has been posted up here. We have some stuff in the Alpha DevCon 2015. I believe that's the sample application that allowed you to see that people used at the conference to see the schedule. We have a simple Hello World. We have Bob's Alpha Anywhere World Cup example. We have an example doing Amazon S3 upload. We have a stock market application, which you may have seen in videos, but we actually have the source code for it up here. Here's one for doing email using both SMTP and Mandrill. And here's one this is the PhoneGap one. This is the one that actually comes with Alpha Anywhere, but it was buried in a folder, so we decided to expose it here by putting it up on the GitHub account. So this will be growing, and it will be growing significantly pretty soon. While I've got control of this screen, I'd also like to
go ahead.
documentation.alphasoftware.com, which was officially came out, I believe, yesterday. So this is launched, and this is the most up-to-date source of information on Alpha Anywhere. If you're familiar with previous resources, we did have a Wikipedia, a wiki, which is obsolete. We also had a series of other help pages, but they've all been pulled into this help system. We are in the process of organizing it, so areas will get more fleshed out as we go. For example, user's guide is actually quite a bit more that we're going to put down in here. But just to take you through a quick level of the books, there's a Getting Started section here, which is fairly short, and if you're brand new, I suggest reading it. It's only got a few pages to drill down into. There's a user's guide section, which shows you how to do specific things within the software. There's a concept section, which will soon be combined into resources. And there's a reference section. The reference section is really, think about it as the XBasic section for now. This is where all functions and methods and even some JavaScript for our JavaScript libraries are kept in reference. So it's really a programmer's tool, that section. And we have the release notes, which show you what's came out with the most recent release and what's available in the pre-release build. We often make a pre-release build available that has features that are not yet in the full release. It's used for testing out new features. It's not used for deployment until it becomes a proper release. So that's it for the documentation, and for GitHub, I'm going to hand it back over to you.
Now, what's really exciting is, well, many things are exciting. I'm super excited the documentation has now been launched and are available there. Let's see, go ahead and show my screen. Do I have that yet?
Not yet. I'm going to be the presenter.
Okay, great.
And then you
cool.
should see dialogue.
So the real cool, I'm going to talk a little bit more about documentation, but some other sources here. But over time and where the company is going is the work that Dave's doing on that central documentation webpage. Make sure to bookmark that because that's going to allow you to quickly go there and find the information you need. So instead of it buried in 3 or 4 different places, etc., we're going to be streamlining that heavily and putting it into one location. And the GitHub stuff is really powerful. Git is the name of the version control system. Actually, the team is using a service called GitHub that basically stores those repositories. And right now it's kind of a one-way street where Dave and his team are putting together samples, examples, and then they check them into GitHub, so that, and as they change things, they can update GitHub and keep it current, and then you can pull down from GitHub to get the most current version of those demonstration vehicles. But also down the road, we anticipate as we work together as a team, it can be a two-way street where someone could maybe find a bug in one of the demo apps and fix it and then upload it to the GitHub. That's not enabled yet, but that is down the road. So we can really have a community that's working together to create the most optimal content to help new people learn, but also help people, get knowledge in specific areas and help contribute. So we're very excited about that. That's been a work in progress for some time now as the team recognized the needs. And now things are looking in a great shape. So those are your sample apps. You can get them, create them right within the development environment. There's some that are located on the disk, and more you're going to start seeing that the Git repository, it will probably be called GitHub. So let's go ahead and just put that in here so it makes it sense. That is where you're going to be able to find some great examples you can download and start dissecting. And you'll see that continue to increase. The really important thing about each of these methodologies is, again, you're not faced with a blank sheet of paper. You can see how the experts put these together, how they architected, how they structured them. And basically understanding that, you'll be able to then either take that and use that as a basis or create one from scratch using the knowledge that you've gained from reviewing those. So those sample apps are very powerful. We really encourage new people to use those. We find that if they do, they're going to get off the ground faster, they're going to see better results, and they're going to have less problems. Now, the other is that we have a full set of help resources, and we've already done one, which is the brand new documentation site. And as we centralize on the help resources, more and more it's going to be go to the doc site. That's really what we want to try and achieve so that we have one consistent, curated method of providing information to the development community, that the information has been vetted by alpha engineers and alpha consultants and people who work with them. Therefore, you're getting the latest and greatest information. That's always been a challenge, is that there's a lot of older information out there available just because of the different iterations of how that information was published. And sometimes some of that data is dated, meaning there's better, newer, simpler ways to do things, like a lot of things where it's already, the development team has taken a requirement and encoded it into the system, so now you don't have to do code. You can use Action JavaScript or some other easier method to perform what you want to do, and that's constantly happening with alpha. So the beauty of that is that with this new documentation site, the team can be curating and saying, okay, let's deprecate that article or that information because it's no longer relevant. There's a better way. Like they may keep the article in there, but then say don't use this, and then you'll have a link to go to where you want to find it. And that's powerful because then you don't waste time implementing something that doesn't make sense or is not going to be the proper solution, which is very, very powerful. So I'm very excited. Our friends Dave and company have been working very hard to put that together, and it's coming out as you see. Now, also wanted to show you some other really nice help resources. And I'm going to show you the help videos. Now, I showed before when you create a sample app, there's actually built-in help tutorials, which are really nice because they give you that full impact of a whole application. They're basically going through step by step to see how the whole application is built. Now, what you're able to do also is once you've opened up and you're in your environment, Alpha has pre-made, let's go ahead and open this up here, and we've already done that. If you go to the Help Video Finder, you can open up within the development system all the different videos that Alpha has generated, and then it's searchable. So, the tutorials don't cover everything. Maybe there's something that you didn't cover. Like, let's say you wanted to add a signature capture to the to your application for maybe field signatures or something along those lines. Well, a real fast and easy way is go to the Video Finder, again, by going Help Video Finder. Then you're presented with this interface. You're welcome to go ahead and just scroll down and look inside these. Basically it's a tiered. You click on the left and then all the different videos that are. So that you can look in here and say, okay, oh, I've got questions about PhoneCap. You can click here and see the different videos on PhoneCap right away. Or I'm curious about the Tab UI component. Here's some videos here. But more powerfully, you can come up into this filter here and say, let's say it's a signature capture. And you notice as I start typing, it's dynamically doing a filter function, so you're available to see it. And now I'm down to here for all the results. and then so now here's my signature capture control. And right there is a couple easy to read, very quick, 5 minutes or less video that show you how to add signature capture control to your user interface. And very interesting is another feature that's available is you can annotate an image using the signature capture control, which is really cool because basically you can show a picture in signature capture control, and then with the tool you can annotate that image by drawing on it with your mouse. So maybe it's in this case a medical, so they can circle the parts of the bodies that have issue. Or if it was like a repair shop, they could take a picture of the video of the car, and then you could circle where the damage is, things along those lines. So that's the kind of stuff you'll discover. And a real fast and easy way is just, again, go to Help Video Finder on the help screen, and then you either manually look through it or filter it. And these are great videos. And again, each of these videos are only about 4 to 5 minutes long. They're very rare that they go much longer than that. So what we do is we break them into smaller chunks. That way you don't just sit there and gloss over, or your eyes don't glaze over as you start working on something along those lines. But definitely check that out. That's really powerful. And the real powerful is this filter function. And again, some of this content, if not all of it, will be migrated onto our central documentation site and be available there along with our video library. But it's just, I find it's very easy to find stuff by just say Video Finder, type in what you're looking for, and then select and start watching. And you'll notice some of them actually include an example component with it. So in these situations, you can watch the video, but you can also download the component that was built, similar to our tutorial setting, which is really nice because then you don't have to go, oh, stop the video and type down maybe some Mex Basic or a little piece of JavaScript that was added to the solution to make it work. So that saves it because you can just download that component, add it to your solution, and then either modify it or dissect it or copy controls, copy code out of that into your own UX controls and grids and pages and things along those lines. So the video library is a very powerful resource built into the system. So I'm going to go close there.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah,
just for a minute?
please.
Great.
Yes.
So on top of that, which is an excellent way to find videos just while you're working, we do have other videos which are not just the 4-minute ones. We have webinar videos and we have longer discussion videos. And those are kept in our video library. And someone earlier in the presentation asked about how do we find, for example, last week's session. So I want to show you how to do that. So if I could just...
Okay, why don't I turn it over to you?
Yep.
Cool.
All right, let me know when you could share, when you could see my screen. Is it coming through?
Not yet.
Okay.
Unless it's behind. Wait. Oh, okay. Yeah, coming through.
Okay, great. So if you go to videos.alphasoftware.com, videos, and you scroll down to the documentation library, we actually have an Alpha Anywhere application that we've built for this purpose. So if you type in, for example, last week's beginners thing was called orientation. Click search, and you'll see that they are sorted by date. So March 31st, 2016, Alpha Anywhere's beginners orientation. So that's how you find that. When you click on it, it gives you an option of Vidler or YouTube to watch the video in. So that's sort of a handy thing to know. So again, videos.alphasoftware.com, but you actually click down to the link which says go to the documentation library. So that's it for me. I'll turn it back over to you.
No problem. That's exactly. I'll do this.
Okay, make presenter. Okay.
Okay. Dynamite. Go back here. So we have not only videos built into the system itself, so you can access them there, but those, and again, kind of to add a little more color to it, is that those are really oriented around feature capabilities of the Alpha and how to implement specific feature items, like how to add a signature control, how to modify it, how to use it. The ones that are on the website, they include some of those, but also they have more broader subjects of talking about maybe the security environment or webinars or how to kind of videos, training videos that are available. So you can kind of mix and match and look at both sources to find the videos that make the most sense for what you need to solve at that time. And again, a lot of this content will be on the new documentation site. So our goal is more and more you go to one place to get your support and help instead of saying, oh, is it in here, is it in here, is it in here, we want to reduce that searching time and that time that you spend getting that information and really focusing on allowing you to get to it quickly, find it easily, and most importantly, consume it and get back into the game in terms of modifying your own application. Now, for people who are sort of more visual oriented in terms of reading, we also have the help documentation built into the system. So if I'm back into the development system, I'm going to go up here to help and then open documentation. And so when it opens the documentation here, you'll notice that it opens up more of a traditional documentation structure. So for instance, like if I'm looking for a specific XBasic command, so A5WS is the start of all the web security ones. You'll notice as I typed in the left-hand corner, the topic list started to reduce, similar to what you saw in terms of the video stuff. So you're able to actually say, okay, I want to get specific information about deleting a user right here. And I could have typed delete in here. Let's try that. Just go delete. And then you have like A5 delete. And when you click on that, you'll notice that the documentation has been opened to the right of that. So you can go through, let me go over here, and I can scroll down and see the information here. So you'll see that's and it gives you a little example of how to do it. Deleting a user, you pass in their user ID, and if it's successful, you get a true. If not, you get a false. So that's pretty straightforward. So these are going to be very oriented around maybe I need some sample code or a sample example of a script that you need to. And as you notice, when I click on these items, it's opening up tabs here. So often you'll be reusing things over and over. So you'll keep that up there. You can close them if you don't want them on there. But you can go back, because often when you're working on something, it's like, oh man, did I get all the information on that? Once you come back in here, it's going to preserve these tabs, and they're going to allow you to do it. And Alpha is really good. You'll see in here that you have, in this case, a XBasic command. And you have the result flag, and it explains what all the parameters, how they're used, etc., description. But again, they also include example code, so you just copy that, paste it in your application, make the necessary modifications, and you're off to the races. And it does rely on the wiki data, so you can actually drill down if it's like, oh, that's not exactly what I was looking for. I can scroll down here and, oh, I really wanted to look up reserved words. So here are the reserved words kind of thing. And so you can actually navigate within this window as if it were on a web browser kind of scenario. And a lot of this day, I know that Dave's working on a lot of this kind of content is going to be on that central documentation site. But I often will come in here, especially if I'm looking up a specific type of XBasic command or JavaScript that I need to implement in my solution. This is a really quick way for me to find sample code and to get a little description about how the actual function should work. So it becomes very simple to use those pieces. You'll notice that I've set up initially with a topic list. So I've got these are all the different topics that are in here. As you can see, there's tons and tons of information that's in here. You can also go to a table contents here, and then the topics you've seen have been organized. So here's in tutorials, like Alpha Sports. So this is similar to the contact you'll get there, but I can go into there and say forum events, and it talks about how these tutorials, how to access SQL data, how to work with SQL database. So not only does it have just specific individual topics, but it can actually walk you through and talk. So some people are more visual in terms of they like video. Other people like to read because they can quickly skim through the content. And both are available to you at any time. You can just, again, access them from the help menu from that standpoint. And if you want, you can create your own favorites. If you tend to go back and look at a function signature or something like that, you can add to your favorites, so you can create your own little favorite contents for the things they're doing. But these are nice in here, especially when you start talking about connecting with SQL. It kind of walks you through how, what needs to be done, and a little bit more background of what is Alpha DAO, what do they mean, etc. Videos help, but this also is really good from that standpoint there. So that's, again, through the help system that you capture by clicking on the Open Documentation under the Help menu. We, again, have the video finder, as I showed a little bit earlier. We also have the Getting Started videos, so those are embedded here so you can log in there. And so this is kind of your gateway to your different support services that are available in the system. Now, there's one other one that I like to mention because it's actually it's very valuable, is that Alpha has a message board. And in that message board is a lot of information, a lot of, hey, how do you do this? And then someone answers and gives you example codes. And the only warning on this is some of the information is a bit dated, so you want to make sure you're talking about your version, which is probably version 12 in those pieces here. But I can click on here, for instance, and go look into the topics for browser applications. As you can see, you have enormous talking about calendars, tree view controls, etc. And this is a community resource, meaning that individuals will post their questions on the message boards, and people will be reading the message boards and do things along with, basically what they'll do is that they'll contribute answers to it. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, but these great discussions go on different ways to implement things that maybe someone's having a challenge with. So it's a great place, obviously, get on the board, review it. It's searchable, so you can come up here and do a search on something, and it will go through and find those pieces for you. Good example is like, for instance, this one. You'll notice that nobody's replied to this one. Sometimes that happens. And it will actually show you if anybody's answered those pieces. So, for instance, we can go down. These are kind of new right here. But I can go, let's go to something interesting. Let's find a good one here. So, XBasic insert. So, here are the different answers. Here's the kind of data, etc. So there's some very active people out there. And, again, I caution people because some of the data is fairly old, meaning that this board has been around for years. So they may talk about V9, V10 kind of features that now are rolled in, and also different, more improved ways to do things, preferred ways, especially with the introduction of panels and other things that kind of obsoleted some of the user interface control aspects. So keep in mind the the Alpha message board. Again, you can access that by clicking Help and then Message Board. And that'll take you right to it. And then the last area, which is kind of interesting, is the release notes. And again, this is a key one that's being moved into the new documentation site. So you can click on View Release Notes, and what you'll find in the release notes is not only information, but also some of these videos. And this is where the videos first get posted, is under here, and then eventually they migrate into the different locations. And what Dave's working on is making sure that's a very consistent process, and most importantly, that these kind of videos and content gets put into the documentation site. But you see there's a whole bunch of videos on PhoneGap and other pieces here. So that's another great help resource. And let me see if I can go down a little bit more. So you'll notice that it not only includes lists of videos, so like for new features, etc., but if I scroll down here a little bit more, you'll see where there's actually a textual write-up of what goes on. So for instance, this is one, and I'm going to take credit. So that how could you use, for instance, in a grade component, let's say you wanted to have a situation where you wanted to have multiple sort of a set that you're using to do to pull customers. So in this case, it would be like select star from customers, where customer ID is Alfie, Bondi, and Phil. So it uses kind of there's no formula to it. It's just, here are my 3 different indexes I'd like you to check. And so you can see here's the information on how it's done now and a little background, and most importantly, some details of how you implement it. So for instance, you have to use this nomenclature array underscore. So not only do you have videos, but you also have these very powerful small snippets of instructions that are available that are in the release notes that are handled. So when a new aspect is either fixed in the environment or enhanced or modified, the development team goes in and puts in documentation in here saying here are the new things. And it's pretty easy to follow, very straightforward. Sometimes it will include a video, sometimes it will include some basic code from the standpoint, and then other pieces like that. So that's another very powerful solution, is to use the release notes. Again, my anticipation over time is that the documentation itself, that written documentation we talked about, the videos, and also the release notes will all be in that central documentation database. And the benefit of that is then you don't have to go search 3 different places to find things. But it takes time for all that information to be reviewed, curated. We don't want to bring information in there that isn't valid or doesn't really assist the user anymore. Maybe it's too dated that we really don't use that technique anymore. So that's where the time is. We want to make sure stuff that goes in to the central support site is very current, very valuable, and still useful, and not a method that we would prefer the developers not to use because either it's getting deprecated or, more importantly, there's a newer, better way for you to handle it from that standpoint. So as you can see, built into it is an enormous number of help resources, both video, text, and photographs, things along those lines. All of this is being centralized into the new documentation site, which I appreciate that Dave showed everybody. Very excited to have that online. And that's those pieces there. Now, last aspects, I only have a few minutes left here. I actually have 10. I want to try and grab a couple questions. But I also want to mention that Alpha has professional services available. So Alpha has mentoring and training services. So if you just feel, man, there's something so specialized about what you're doing that you really want to have a one-on-one relationship with a experienced developer who can kind of give you examples, help you code something, help you get over the hump, that is mentoring is for you, and it's done on hourly basis. You purchase a number of blocks, and then you get access to the person who will take the time, understand what you're trying to do, and actually work with you one-on-one, which often, if you have an important deadline or you want to make sure certain things are done correctly, that's a great way to kind of leverage your capabilities by tapping into an experienced developer. And also, Alpha offers a full suite of professional services, including project management and development, meaning let's say you come across an opportunity, you're a single developer in a company and you've just got too many demands on your time. There's only so much you can do in a day. Or you're a developer who is servicing a company and you realize that there's an opportunity to do something wonderful for that company, but you realize you don't have the bandwidth to pull it off. Maybe it's a little bit larger than the kind of projects that you've done before. Well, the Alpha Professional Services would be worthwhile to give a call because you can basically think of it as augmenting your capabilities. All of this is that you're still the primary individual, but you need someone to help back you up and deliver more code than you can do in a certain period of time. And also may be able to accelerate it because there's a lot of experience in the professional services group that it can be applied to your projects that have been done before and it's somewhat similar. So instead of you going through the learning curve and then building it, you may be able to accelerate the deployment, capture that opportunity for yourself as a business, and have a much better result. So we have mentoring and project management and development services. You just have to contact, you can send something into guides at Alpha Software, but also Brett, who is the lead of the professional service group, is also available. I think it is, Dave, is that Brett at alphasoftware.com?
Yes, that's right.
I think that's his email. Yeah. So I'll just type it in here. I'm going to put it right here. Let's see, it's Brett at alphasoftware.com. So if you're curious about, maybe it's a fit for you, feel free to reach out to Brett. He'll spend time with you understanding what you're trying to do and help recommend the most ideal solution for what you're trying to do, your budget, your timelines, etc. And we find that people with mentoring tend to move along quicker just because they're able, when they hit hurdles, they don't have to go out and search and kind of figure it out on their own. Mentors can usually solve that in a matter of minutes, and because there's a previous way that it's been done that applies to that scenario. And we find those are very successful relationships. And more as our professional services group, we want to really work with other independent developers to really augment their services, their capability, so they can go after bigger fish, that they can do more things for their end clients, which will make them more valuable, and we can do it under their umbrella. So there's a lot of really exciting things there. So those are professional services that are available. So let me do a real quick recap. So today we talked about, that's session 1. I want to talk about session 2, where you can get these sample apps built into the app on the desktop. Also the new Git capability where you can go to GitHub and download it. There's no charge for that. These are open public repositories that are available to help accelerate your learning. We also have a wide range of help resources built into Alpha. We also have a whole bunch of video libraries and wikis, and also the message box or message board, which will allow you to kind of get customized and throw it out into the community and see what kind of responses you get back. And then last but not least is Alpha itself offers resources for mentoring and professional services if there's a fit there that you think it would apply. we have those resources available that you can tap into to help you achieve your goals, whether as an independent developer or as a developer for a specific company that's trying to achieve a certain objective for their end clients. And last but not least is that the documentation site is live. Go check it out. That's going to be a living, breathing entity. It's going to become a monster with the amount of content we anticipate being on there. And the team is working very furiously to, now that we have it launched, to go ahead and bring in as much of that external content as possible and vet that and make sure it's the most current stuff and then make it available to you. So that is our second session for the beginner's orientation. I hope that helped you kind of find, sort of pointed you in the right direction towards that. We'll be continuing. One other area is that weekly we do a weekly webinar which has a Q&A session that is available. So if you have questions, you can join us on our weekly webinar, pose those questions, and we'll try our best to answer those within that environment. And we really appreciate everybody who joins us and who are available for these kind of events.
Great. Well, Deanne, thank you very much for presenting. I'd like to thank everyone who participated today and who attended our webinar. We hope to see you at future webinars. You may want to consider our weekly Wednesday webinar. You should get an email about that next Wednesday morning, and the webinars run from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Time, just like this one did. And we hope to see you there.
And just a real kind of a heads up, we had a question last week. We weren't able to address it today because of time, but they were curious about how to integrate Google Charts into a
that's right.
a Alpha web page or so. So we're going to do a quick demonstration of that next week. Then we're going to dive into the new CSS web design capabilities that Alpha is releasing in the new release to make your apps look really good. But we are definitely going to address that question about Google graphs or charts in your solution.
Excellent. So keep an eye on your mailbox. Wednesday morning you will get your invites. Anyway, thank you again. We hope to see you at a future webinar. Take care and goodbye.